welcome to the Outrageous Courageous Confidence Summit. This is Lori Kirstein, your host, and I have the really, truly straight to my heart Gina Cloud with me today. And I'm going to read to you from her website, actually, about what she does, because it's so lyrical that if I try to translate it, it's just not going to translate. She's an author and a speaker who teaches women to use their voices, set their boundaries, and step fully into their power. Yeah, exactly. And as she and I were discussing before we went live here, it's really hard to drill down into what it is that means empowerment, what it is we're really teaching. We have so much, we share a great passion for freeing women, but when you are sharing the passion as yourself, it really is a challenge, and it took us at least many years to drill down to what that actually means. So welcome, Gina. I'm delighted. I'm just delighted.
Thank you, Lori. You, like we said, I feel like you're definitely a soul sister. I love what you're about. It's got a totally different frequency than a lot of others women's empowerment stuff. So it's different what you do. It's very much like what I do. So.
Oh, well, I see workshops in our future.
Yes, me too. I would love that, sincerely.
Yeah. So listen, in order to be the kind of woman that you are, which is self-defined and fierce without being brittle, because sometimes people think fierce means brittle or angry or something. It doesn't, or at least doesn't need to. What is the courage factor? What is the confidence factor? How do you do that, and how do you define that?
I think the first word that comes to mind for me is authenticity. So what that really means to me is for women to have the courage to step away from the models that we are modeled from a very early age to be a model, not as a role model. In fact, I'll tell you a quick story, really funny. I used to get really annoyed if the first thing out of somebody's mouth was you're beautiful, you're pretty. And we're indoctrinated as young girls that that's the ultimate that you want to hear. And all it did was piss me off. So I remember one time I was actually in an elevator, because I used to think, I have a mind. Why is that always the first thing? You don't say that to little boys. Why do you say that to little girls? And this is literally, I was a small child. I was in an elevator one day when I was in my 20s at some point, and this guy goes, "Wow, are you a model?" And it was like a funny little scene from a movie, because the elevator door opened as I was getting out, and I go, "Yeah, I'm a role model." Ding, door open. I walk. And so back to your question, we have to step away. We have to step away from these notions that define us by our externals. Now, do I honor the physical vessel that I was given? Absolutely. Do I take care of my health? Do I cherish my own beauty in whatever form I perceive that within myself? Absolutely. But do I use that as the driving force, or do I use that to define who I am and what I do? Absolutely not. And as I've gotten older, I have been able to hold on to that within myself, because for me as a young girl, it was like I wanted to define what it meant to be a woman. And I'm different than Lori. I'm different than, anybody else I encounter in other women. And that's the beauty of us, really. Our real beauty is the differences that we all have, and that we come together and we collaborate, but that we don't define ourselves through our physical reality and our physical appearance. So authenticity, like holding on to your true self and not letting the media and all the messages, including, you can get these messages from your mother, you can get them from your grandmothers, your aunts, people around you, your religion, your culture, it's all there. So you have to say, no, I will not allow that to define me. And that's part of where the courage comes in. So there's authenticity. And then to have the courage to say, I will be who I am. I will not let you define how I show up. I will not let you define how I dress, how I undress, how I speak, who I am. And so that's authenticity, invites you into the space of courage to be that authentic woman.
That is really nicely put. And I'm reminded of a time in my life where I didn't know who I was.
Right.
I knew that I wanted to be me. And I knew that at one point in my earlier years, I had been fiercely myself, but I'd also been shamed for it or told that it wasn't the right thing to do. So by the time I got to where I wanted to really be authentic, I didn't know what it meant to be me. So when you work with people, do you ever come across that kind of thing where people are like, oh, I'd love to be me, but what does that mean?
Yeah, it's because of what happens to us as young girls. And that's why, I mean, I have a workshop that I do with young girls, and it's one of the joys, because the idea of being able to reach them before they lose that sense of self, and that always happens because they're pretty much, there's studies that show, there was a book 20 years ago or more, Reviving Ophelia, and it talks about how girls, by the time they get to a certain age, usually around 12, they pretty much feel they're invincible. They can do anything. They believe in themselves. But the distinction that I never could figure out why the author didn't draw the connection between their bodies changing into women's bodies and getting their periods as the reason why their sense of self-esteem begins to decline. And it's because of how women are sexualized, how we are treated through the female body, which is probably the biggest topic of my work. That is the reason you start to see this decline. And wait a minute, I forgot. What was the question you asked me? Oh, shaming. Oh, when I work with people one-on-one. So this starts when we're very, very young, and it chips away at who we know we are, because I feel we know who we are until we start to see how women are treated, how young girls, once you have breasts and you have a period and you look like the quintessential female body, you're treated differently, and you feel it and you know it and you sense it. And for a lot of women, that means they feel unsafe. I've worked with so many women who have been victims of sexual abuse, molested, family members, rape. It is such an epidemic, and it has been going on for thousands of years, to take away a woman's power by violating her. And so there's a ton of shame that rests within women who've been victims of that through no fault of their own, yet that's what happens. And so one of the things I do with my coaching clients, and I think I shared this with you when we were talking the other day, is I take a stand for them until they can stand for themselves. Because there's such a need for you to know that there's someone who cares enough to help you cross over that bridge back to your authentic self, back to the self-love that you once had. And some will say, I don't ever remember loving myself. And those are usually women who have been violated at such an early age, they don't really have a memory of that. But the shaming and all of that is part of what is designed to keep you down. Now, I'm gonna throw something in here that may seem irrelevant, but it's related to what we're saying. I had this thought the other day. There's a show on Stars. It's a very popular show. I don't know how popular it is with Americans, but I know it's popular. It's called Outlander. And okay, so I was watching it the other day, and it was the season finale. And I'm sorry, spoiler alert. If anybody's watching this, I'm just sorry, just la 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 la. Don't listen to me. But you may not want to watch it if you do listen to me. So Claire, the main character, who is this strong, wise, powerful woman, she's a physician. The last episode, she's gang raped. And I thought to myself, this is what I thought. And ladies, I want you to hear me. And men who are listening who love women. Why would anyone write that kind of TV anymore, or those kinds of movies? Why are we so, this is beyond. Why are we so committed to showing images where women are violated and abused and calling that entertainment? It should be illegal to put that kind of shit anywhere in front of a mainstream audience, okay? Why do we continue to do that and call it entertainment? And I mean, there's a show like, on television, it's been like 20 seasons, SVU, Special Victims Unit. It's a rape, like, why can we not have images of women in their power? So I'm still on this topic of shame. The question you asked me about, we keep seeing these images that reinforce our belief systems about ourselves. It's like when I work with the young girls, I tell them, I will have them bring in their favorite, not so much magazines anymore, but the lyrics to songs they listen to and stuff.
Mhm.
And I say, if you don't choose what's coming in here, it's going in anyway, because we're all subliminally programmed by every image, sound we hear. And you have to create a relationship with your own sense of self-worth and
Mhm.
your mind that says, wait, is this true? And do I want to believe it? And that's how you start to live more authentically, is by questioning what's been poured into your brain since you were very, very young. But we need to stop supporting programs that are, this is, and they even had a disclaimer before this episode started about sexual violence. And if you've been a victim of rape, you may not want to watch this. They know this is wrong. It's just wrong. So, but it hit me like so deep in my heart, like at a whole other layer. Why are we continuing to put these images of women forward
Well,
and make women relive this stuff?
yeah, and it's a combination of things that are coming to my head. Like, it's lazy storytelling. Like, you don't need to do. There's so many things that you can use to make a point.
Yeah.
I'm an actor, and I know scripts, and I know
Oh, that's
how it
right.
hangs
Yeah.
together, and I'm a writer. And so when I see stuff that is basically lazy, that bothers me. The fact that this whole thing about being sexualized and dominated and put out there, it normalizes it.
Exactly.
And
And
we
that's the
don't want
word,
that.
normalize. Yep.
Yeah, we don't want that. Um, for the younger crowd who are watching, I do want to mention, and I think I've mentioned her before in this series, but her work is so important, and it really freed me from a lot of I'm not going to say abuse. It wasn't abuse, it's just like shooting on myself.
Right.
She does this, she's done these videos called Killing Us Softly. Her name's Gina Cloud, and she's brilliant. She takes all of these Madison Avenue ads, women in bondage, and I mean, you name it, you've seen it. So, go onto YouTube and watch Killing Us Softly, any of them. It
I
just
love
really,
it. I've never heard of her, but I think that's powerful and important work for all women and men to watch, because men who love women, you're also sucked into this conundrum because you were so used to watching violence and abuse, and like, as you said, it's normalized. And so when you start to understand what has become institutionalized within our cultures, and that's the thing again of, wait a minute, do I really want to watch this? Do I really think this is the right thing for me to be taking into my own consciousness, So I agree with you, Norm, and we have to stop normalizing this. And it starts with our own awareness and our own desire to be in our power and to be authentic, that's boundary. Voices, boundary, power, those are connected for me in the work that I do. We have to have boundaries. Yeah.
Yes, and once you see it, that's where, for me, the courage comes in, because then I have to have the courage to speak up, where before I just went along with the joke, and now I have to stand up and say, that's really not funny.
Yeah.
And what's interesting is I was doing that within the last year with a certain group of people who are, it's really not, not aware. And there were several men who came to me and said, are we okay? I'm sorry. Like, I didn't mean anything. I'm like, it wasn't, I find it offensive. And I wasn't saying, you're offensive to me. It's offensive. I don't like it. And they came to me and said, are we okay? I'm really, I want to be, I think you're awesome.
Yeah. That's
good.
Oh,
just don't say stupid stuff like that to me.
It is that simple, but we don't know what stupid is anymore because we're so, we're automatons. We're kind of robotic about these things that we see, and it just keeps disempowering women. The media-driven images of women as helpless victims of all kinds of crimes, but mostly sexual crimes, and the proliferation of the idea that we are defined by our external appearance are the two biggest reasons that women are not in their power. The two biggest reasons, in my opinion, because it shapes the reality of how you perceive yourself. And when you unplug from those things, I have a really great blog, lots of stuff on it. There's a couple things I've written about this one subject. I have these quirky titles. I think the one that would be most relevant for these two subject matters are, one is called Ladies, Wake Up Your Sleeping Beauty and Stop Exploiting Yourself. And it really goes into the ways that we contribute to our own exploitation. We have to wake up and stop doing it. And it's not your fault. There's no blame whatsoever, because it's so masterfully subconscious and it starts at such an early age. So you got to wake up. So that's why, quirky title. And the other one that has pretty much gone around the globe is The Vulnerability and Wisdom of the Vagina. And it really, really talks about the truth that we learn through our vaginas that we are not awake to, because we're disconnected in a lot of ways from our sexuality, which is another aspect of our power. But not like this whole girls gone wild, let's exploit ourselves, we can, screw around as much as we want to. It's not that. There's a power in our sexuality that most people never get to, because we're living the mainstream version of it, which disempowers us actually. So go to my blog and just explore. But those two, and another one is Why Do You Weigh Yourself? I talk about the scale as a weapon of self-destruction, because that number messes with your head. And why do you do it? Think about it. So I've got lots of stuff there. And that's just on my website. It's all free. Anybody can read it, but it will make you think. And that's part of what I love to do, is I like to unlock the box that you're in. I like to just unlock the box, open the lid, and you go down the rabbit hole and you start to discover the ways that you are actually in a prison, how much of it you put yourself there and keep yourself there. The door's open, just walk out, So it's really important for us to wake up. We gotta wake up, because women, I think the Dalai Lama said, it's the Western woman who will save the planet or the world. I don't remember which word he used. Ladies, we gotta wake up. We gotta wake up. There's plenty for us to do.
Oh, absolutely. And it's such a verdant time for us to awaken together, in community like this.
Yes.
It's important to work together and to help each other awaken. And I'm reminded of something earlier in the conversation. You were talking about when we get breasts and when we start to menstruate, we start to play the game. And I think that I just want to mention here, because I think there's a way to feel shamed about that. And so I want to mention that when we start coming into our adultness, whether we're men or women, we are looking outside of ourselves to see what is the game that I need to play in order to fit in order to be safe. It's just, I think it's a human thing. And because we have this crackpot infantilizing system going on, then we fit in. We go, oh, okay, so I have to look like her. I have to be blonde, and I have to have breasts that are that big, and I have to have a skinny waist. And
right.
So I just want to say that for anybody who takes that in as a shaming thing, none of it's our fault, but all of it is our responsibility.
Yeah, that's actually a really good way to say that, because there is no blame. There's only, it's just, the only blame comes when you realize you have a choice, and then you decide to continue to participate in the perpetuation of what keeps us locked down within ourselves and our authenticity and our power. And the exercising of boundaries could not be any more important once you wake up. And a lot of women are subjected to, it's like I said, it starts when we're little girls. Be nice, and I love you, the stop, what's it called? How do you say the stop being a good girl project, or what's, I don't want to misquote.
It's the Goodbye Good Girl Project.
Yeah, the Goodbye Good Girl Project. Yeah. I fell in love with that because that is so important for me. Is I think I have another blog somewhere about people pleasing, how to stop being a people pleaser. Because when you're a people pleaser, for the most part, you're betraying yourself. So many women will defer to other people's needs before reflecting on what their own needs are, and willing to make themselves uncomfortable in deference to other people. And it's just something that we really have to stop. We just have to stop it. I also have on my website listed, I have my concept of what it is my definition of being a woman, and I call it Gynecology. And
that.
I have 10 principles about, about that. And I don't think I can even remember all of them. So I recommend you just go on my website, Gynecology, or under the GinaCloud.com, under the Gynecology principles. But you are one of them, because women's bodies are constantly assaulted. I do know my number one is that you are your own best doctor. No one knows your state of health and wellness better than you do. Your doctor is a team player and not the boss of you, because I have worked with so many women who come to me crying that they tried to tell their doctor something that was going on, and the doctor either shames them, doesn't do any kind of testing, puts them on hormones. It's always hormones. Hold on one second. My voice is crackling here. And so you have to learn to honor your own body wisdom and to set these boundaries with people that know nothing about the body you live in 24/7, right? So that's my number one, and they go from there. But we have to be much more responsible once we wake up, as you said. No, don't be ashamed, but be responsible. And from there, the power gets switched on. When you have that moment of truth, when you go, wait a minute, I'm really not okay with this. Mm-hmm. There's your voice, there's your boundary, and that's the beginning of you stepping into your power.
Can you tell us what a moment was for you personally, that you had to step into a new place of courage or a new place of confidence?
I'm losing your voice, just got real soft.
Oh, I'm sorry. There we go. Sorry. Could you tell us about a time in your personal life when you've had to step into into a bigger moment of courage or confidence?
Wow, there's probably been so many, because the way I live my life is kind of crazy in some ways, because I just open my mouth and say whatever.
Ditto.
I mean, I'm not kidding. I'm just not kidding. I've just given you a couple of examples. But yeah. I think there were maybe 2 times. The first one was when I got my first period, mm-hmm. which I was 14, and it was such an incredible moment of power to me.
Ooh.
And
nice.
This is how I know this is the work I'm here to do.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have a mother who thought anything about being a woman in a powerful way. Everything was negative, just like everybody else. Oh, it's a pain once you get it, negative talk.
Right.
But what I think defines me, and that I try to teach other women, is to be internally referring instead of externally referring. And what that means for anybody who says, what is she talking about? I listen to my inner guidance. External reference means you're looking to what's outside of you to tell you how you need to be. So basically, it's negating your own authentic self and your own sense of self-worth and empowerment. Mm-hmm. So when I got my first period, my internal reference was, this is incredible. I have something here that's connecting me to a power source that is so wow, okay? And so it took me down a rabbit hole about my body, the female body as a power source, and the gift of these. I mean, this is a whole other thing I could do. I would love to do some more workshops on that online, because this is something that women really need to hear. So I would say that was one of the things that activated the part of me that's here now doing this work. The other one I would say was when my daughter was born in '95, because I had been dabbling with the idea of jumping in and teaching and doing something with, because I kept saying, I don't think I'm special. I think everybody gets a gift when you come into this lifetime. Everybody has a special superpower and a gift that you're here to do. Mm-hmm. And for me, it's helping women remember who we really are, okay? And so, because I've been gifted the ability to know who I really am, and to never let someone define that for me. And so when my daughter was born, I realized I want this world to look different for her. Yeah. So I better get up off my ass and be courageous enough to throw my voice out into the world in a bigger way. And it's been a really challenging journey, because I started this body of work in '99, even though I've lived it my whole life.
Right.
And because for me, it's a very important thing that I am a model of what I teach, that it's not just coming out of my mouth, that I live it. It's incredibly important to me, because otherwise I'm not in alignment with who I truly am and my truth. So how can I teach this to other people? And I know that I am that because of the way that I connect with women. They just get it. They get it, right?
Oh yeah.
So jumping into this work, and when I started, it was originally called The Sacred Cycle. And it was all about the power of our menstrual cycle as a force in our life to teach and to heal and to guide us. I call it our goddess GPS, our goddess power source. And
wow, that's
so,
a shift from the normal. You are absolutely right.
And I absolutely, I have blog posts about that also.
Okay.
And I actually created an audio product that goes into the history and the mystery of the menstrual cycle for women. I think it's about an hour and a half long. That's on my website under products. And so I jumped in with that, and I was like, nobody was talking about it then. You know, now we had a movie, I think it was last year, called Period, that little short film that won an Oscar, and women are now openly, you know, embracing their cycle, but still they're not embracing it from this place of power, of sacred power that we have at that time. It's more of like a, you know, comfortable talking about it out loud, but still not getting what this thing is. So here I am, 99, 21 years ago. Nobody was talking about any of that. So I had the courage to come out and start teaching about this. And it was incredible, because so many women, at the time I was doing an 8-week, once a week in person women's group. And it was so powerful to do this stuff in person. Obviously it can be done online, but there were practices and things that we did, and I could definitely shape it for an online course. But the way it changed those women's lives was incredible. And I have young girls who I worked with when they were 14. One of them, it's a really funny story real quick. She's now 25. I did the initial workshop talking about facts of life and everything when she was 8 years old. She was one of my daughter's friends. And she hadn't gotten her period in a couple of months, and she stayed in touch with me. So many of these girls stay in touch with me. They have families now, and she actually came out to see me, and because we have a running joke that I'm like the period whisperer, like women who haven't had their period in a long time, right?
Oh my God.
Call me, contact me. I have a conversation with them. They get their period within days. And so she came down here to see me, and she hadn't had it in 2 months, and I did some energy work, because I do some healing work also with her, and she got it in about 30 hours after she left my house.
Wow.
And so to put this out there in a way that women feel, because there's a connection to our power through that. And then what happens is women go their whole life not honoring their periods, and then we get to menopause, and there's a total breakdown in the psyche for most women, because they were never aligned with their authentic self through their menstruating years, and then menopause becomes a train wreck. So I try to teach them through the menstruating years how not to have that happen, and if it is going to happen, to guide you through that process. And I've worked with women going through that in menopause who just never had an awareness of who they were their whole life, and they're going through massive body symptoms, which you don't go through if you live in integrity with your cycle throughout your menstruating years. I mean, it's such a deep subject. So the courage, the peace, I mean, for me to talk about these things, because of what I know and hear, what I know, it's so deep inside my heart and soul. And I want women to have this power back, because we all need women to be in our power. We need women to have the courage to speak about the things that drive your heart and your soul. So that was a really courageous time for me to step into the work. And then through the years, I did a radio show for a bunch of years, which I loved doing, because I got to talk about the things I wanted to talk about, uncensored. And it was stuff women weren't hearing at all. to meet the authors whose books had inspired me. But along the way, and you and I talked a little bit about this, along the way, trying to grow a business, and I hate that word because I don't think it's aligned with the way women do our lives, the way we make money, the way that we are inspired to make money, the way that we are inspired to give, to share, to collaborate. It's not this climbing up the ladder, power over you, which is the corporate model. It's the power from within, shared, supportive, right? So as I've gone on my journey, I've refused to be a part of something that doesn't feel right to me in that way. And so marketing and trying to get myself out there, I've just adapted and shape-shifted to be in integrity with myself, even to the point, at one point I said, screw this, I'm not doing this anymore. You're not helping me. Whoever you believe in, the universe, God, whatever, you want me to do this? You're not helping me. So I'm out, And I tried to walk away, but it's just who I am. I cannot see a woman in the bathroom of a public place having a moment with her friend, putting herself down and not say something.
In fact,
I have to.
Would you tell that story that you told me about what happened to you and the guy in the store the other day?
Oh gosh, yeah.
Not to put men down, but this type of behavior. Go ahead. And
you know what? My work, it richly encompasses men, and there's so many men who love what I'm about because I don't put men down. I don't. The true feminine principle is about equality. That men and women, there's no one over anyone. And when I speak about these things, it's not putting men down and elevating women. But I know these men who love women, and they are all probably out there shaking, their head in agreement. So this is funny, and especially for like younger women, but any woman. I was in a store, and I was at the checkout counter buying something. It was an REI store. And the guy that was ringing me up was trying to get me to buy to pay for like a membership, and at the end of the year I would get X number of dollars back, and I said no thanks, and he just kept going, and I said no, I said I'm not going to be in the country, and he's still persisting, and I look at him and I go, dude, no means no. I said, seriously, I hope you're not this way in your dating life. Honestly, no means no. And he just kind of stopped, and I said, I just had this feeling though that if I was a guy, you wouldn't have insisted. And these two women that were, they were in front of me actually, because they had already walked out. And when I walked out, they said, oh my God, he was obnoxious. And the way you handled him. I'm like, but those are the kinds of things, like I always say, that just flies out of my mouth, and that's an expression right now. No means no. It's about the boundaries. Here we are again.
No means no.
Where's your boundary? And it's like, no, thank you. No, thank you. No, thank you. Dude, no means no. And you know what? If he thinks I'm being a bitch, I don't care. Because to me, what I did was set a boundary. It's enough. I've said no twice already. Why is there a third time? And we're afraid to use our voices. Again, my mantra, my tagline, helping women find our voices, set our boundaries, and step into our power. Until you find your voice and you know where your boundaries are, you cannot be in your power. So those things go hand in hand. You cannot be in your power if you're not using your voice and setting boundaries. And sometimes a boundary is saying yes to something, and sometimes it's saying no, sometimes it's saying maybe, I'll get back to you. But you only get to know where your boundaries are by cultivating a relationship with yourself. And that's your authentic self, not the one the world wants you to be. It's your authentic self. And you have to get to know her.
Oh my God, those are galvanizing and such perfect words. I'm going to stop there with my questions, because that is like, it's ringing through my consciousness. It's just so beautifully stacked. You need this to have this. Oh my God, thank you. Talk to us, if you would, about what you are offering all of us so we can be in closer contact.
Okay. First of all, my website is just a great resource, ginacloud.com. But I have two free gifts. One of them is a body inventory assessment, because a very important part of the work that I do is helping women really connect deeply with your relationship to your body. It's a power source, and your relationship with it is really important. So it's like 5 pages of questions that you'll ask yourself about your body. And normally it's something I send to coaching clients, but whether you ever contact me for any reason, it's going to spark questions inside of you. And I always say questions are more important than the answers because they take you on a journey. It's going to make you have an awareness, a bunch of awarenesses about how you feel about your body, the questions that I ask. So that's one download. The other thing, for a limited time, I'm offering a free download of my book, W.O.M.A.N, A New Definition, which I wrote in 2009. A lot of my coaching clients tell me the book itself, they love my little book, and they keep saying I should do like a reprint because it's a I don't have one in front of me. See, I'm so bad at marketing myself. But it's a beautiful, colorful book. And woman is an acronym. So each letter, the W is wild, the O is open, the M is magical, the A is authentically empowered, and the N is nectar. And so the book goes through what each one of those letters represent. The W, wild, is like a relationship with our inner wild self. That's this beautiful aspect of woman. The O is about being connected in our heart and being able to be open. The M is magical. It talks about our menstrual cycle and pregnancy. And at the time I wrote the book, I hadn't been through menopause, so it's not in there. The A is authentically empowered, which is about who you really are, giving your gifts authentically to the world. The N is nectar, which is the beautiful, sensual, sexual, vibrant, playful, laughing, dancing aspect of woman that we've lost so much touch with living in a patriarchal, very masculinized world. So it's a short book. It's only about 85 pages. So you can get a free download of that as well. So those are my two gifts, as well as everything else on my website that I've written. There are some paid products there. I love coaching women through this. And maybe, Lori, maybe we can talk about doing some kind of an online class together. Can share some more of these. Yeah.
W.O.M.A.N. Yeah, absolutely. You are galvanizing. You are magical.
Thank you.
You are magical. And I'm so grateful that the universe or God or whoever anybody wants to talk about brought us to meet each other.
Me too. Thanks for reaching out. Yeah.
It's my pleasure. I could go on for hours and I will stop here. So until we do this again, which could be any day now, given how crazy we both are. But,
yeah, crazy is good. I love crazy.
Crazy is really good.